cultivating community is not easy. It's not easy. And being a part of something that is like a real legitimate solution, just being able to provide that like pure food. And people can do anything that they want to do. So the reality of growing resourcefully is it's not hard work, but you have to work hard.
At base, I think local food is appealing because food has become impersonal. You ask a kid, where does your food come from? And they'll say Safeway. So what that means is that they don't understand, and we're encouraged not to understand, that food entails a basic relationship, which is again one reason why knowing your farmer allows you to know your food. For one thing, you can meet the person who grew your food and ask them what procedures they followed, what chemical fertilizers, pesticides, herbicides, if any, were applied. Because I think viscerally people understand that they don't want to eat something that is laced with chemicals. But consistent with increasing monoculture and the investments necessary to make monoculture profitable, then pesticide use becomes itself a strategic necessity. But efforts such as Grub here in Chico have a great deal of potential that has yet to be realized. Not just locally here where we live, but regionally and nationally and globally. I think the local food movement is just beginning to get to a point where it can really make a difference in people's lives.
GRUB stands for Growing Resourcefully, Uniting Bellies. And the goal is education, garden education, food education. It's really based around your local community.
GRUB started in 2007, and we started with little gardens, and we then started a 2-acre plot. We wanted to really do something that was going to approach the problem with a solution rather than just approach the problem with more problems. And so we decided that learning to grow food would be a really good solution. Chico is a really great place for growing food. I mean, we have a great climate, we have plenty of water, groundwater, and we have amazing, amazing soil.
The quality of the soil here is dark and it is moist, and we could just walk over there right now and take a shovel and just delve it in a little bit, and you will just see earthworms in there. There are so many bugs and critters. It is like our soil is alive.
We have 3 different components to GRUB. There's the GRUB Cooperative, which is the intentional community situation. There's the GRUB Education Program, which is the nonprofit. And then there's the GRUB CSA Farm. Each of those different programs has done great things in this community. So a really big goal for us is to be able to offer support to anyone that wants to grow food in this area.
Our thing is about food and growing food. And as far as we all live together in the house, everybody puts in $20 a week in for food. The food that we don't grow, like, you know, the major staples and stuff, like grains and whatnot. And then we all cook together, and we have meetings once a week. And yeah, so that's kind of how we live, and everybody that lives here has different roles in what they do in GRUB. My project is the organic farm, and out here we do about 5 acres of vegetables. We grow a lot of things that are like sort of heritage heirloom varieties that like are not grown. We grow like 40 different varieties of tomatoes that like you can't find in stores. We grow parsnips that no one knows what they are, but they're falling in love with. We grow a lot of things that are really unusual, and we started something called a CSA. A CSA stands for Community Supported Agriculture. Right now we have 50 people that are a part of it, but then when the season gets going on strong, we usually have about 80 people that sign up. And that's where people pay us every single month, and then they come every week to pick up their vegetables. It's a really good way for them to get in touch with where they're getting their food from, and it's a good way also to cut out a middle person. Say you go buy your food at like Safeway or a store, they're paying us direct.
For the education program side of Grub, we had the opportunity to go into quite a few different preschools where we went in and actually helped assess their space and then provide them with a garden. And then we went in and did weekly lessons with the children.
I've been working with kids for, I think it's about 5 years now. We were called out by the Boys and Girls Club and a preschool to come garden with their kids, and from that it's flourished since. Stephanie wrote a grant that got us into 10 more preschools, and one of our goals was to get children to try new vegetables, and when they see their peers eating straight from the garden, they think it's gross, but once they see how much the other kids are loving it, then they start realizing that they're missing out, and so it becomes more common for them to eat.
It's an important thing to connect children with food. It was amazing in the gardens to watch children go up and just pick raw spinach and eat it and love it. And so to see them nurturing their bodies in that sense, and the learning opportunities that are available when you're outdoors and experiencing it, is amazing.
We also sell at farmers market. Well, the day before is the most work, because the day before we do all the harvest, and then we have to put it all in, pack up truck. The harvest takes a long time, the prep takes a long time, and then the next morning I get up at 6 o'clock and set up market by 7. But it's just always really busy and just chatting with people and catching up with folks and selling vegetables. And we've been very, very, very well received. Everyone's taking us in very open arms, and not just the education program, but the CSA. And like anything Grub's doing, everybody's really happy about it because I think it is solution oriented.
The primary idea behind monoculture is to take one single crop and achieve market efficiencies by manufacturing that crop on a grand scale. And modern industrial agriculture is facing limits in the form of soil productivity by virtue of over-application of pesticides, eventually resulting in poisoned soil and crashing agricultural productivity. Because under a monoculture regime, the pests that threaten the integrity of one's crop have to be controlled.
The soil is the most important part of growing plants. And if you have a healthy soil, then you're going to have a healthy plant. And that well-fed plant is going to feed the people. So it's really important to give back to the soil. And having a diversity of crops is really important so that they don't all deplete the same nutrients from the soil. If you keep growing tomatoes in the same spot, they're likely to get diseases. When you're monocropping, the pests know where to go. They're not going to tell their family to come for just one tomato plant, but if it's acres of tomato plants, then they'll know where to go.
I tend to the majestic asparagus kingdom, which is just shy of 1,500 feet of asparagus. And the practices I use are absolutely organic. I've used horse manure and composted cow manure from local farms. And seeing folks that have worked in conventional agriculture, they, fumigate their almond trees. It's like those chemicals sprayed on and around those trees are also going into our water. There's almost like a disconnect even with the production of bigger scale versus small scale, producing enough food for like your immediate family or your immediate community or going to the farmer's market.
Another reason why industrial agriculture is a potential problem is that we're in the middle of a public health crisis, and it's driven in large measure by lack of access to wholesome food and a superabundance of truly unhealthy food. And the question is, as we get more and more people on the planet, at what level of food security can the planet effectively maintain? So if we're going to learn from our past, then perhaps we need to modify our forms of agricultural production so that we can in fact sustain, say, 8 billion people well. And community gardens are absolutely critical because they offer models for other people who may be perhaps skeptical, or any number of ways in which we convince ourselves we can't do something. These are models for how we can. So even if community gardens can't manage to feed everybody, that's okay, because they can feed everybody a little bit, and by virtue of doing so, educate everybody a great deal.
This is the Grubb West Lindo Ave Community Garden in 305 West Lindo, Chico, California. About 3 years ago, we started with a 30 by 30 lot. And then Grubb came over, we talked, they were having the similar ideas of community gardens, and off it went. And I think it's the community that you get from it. Doesn't matter whether it's all families, or a neighborhood, or an apartment complex. It brings people together in a true mixture of the community.
What's so important about community gardens is that we are helping each other grow not only food, but we are growing together, because I think we've been really disconnected. And if you can grow a garden, you can feed yourself, but you can also feed a lot of other people. The West Lindo Garden, it was just a great potential because it's an area, there's not a store really close by. And so we have people that are time sensitive, and they don't think they have time, doctors, real estate agents. And when you do it as a community, all of us want to eat better and eat well.
The Jesus Center is more or less a soup kitchen, and food is one of the most direct gifts that you can give another person in terms of just their livelihood. And so I had this vision to create a community garden that would support the Jesus Center's kitchen, kind of create a farm to fork connection between the food that they serve and food that we grow. Learning how to garden is a process. I've always thought of it as sort of a demonstration plot, and we're sort of all beginning in the gardening. We haven't produced a large quantity of anything, but what we do produce, I think, is kind of a little bit of an example of what some small group of people can do. And the fact that we give it away to the Jesus Center gives us a connection to the local resourcefulness of this neighborhood that makes our community garden here a little bit unique as well. And it's hard to create health and wellness and maybe just healthy relationship with the land or with your food that you consume and depend on, and not also have a healthy relationship with those parts of nature that sustain us.
American markets don't allow us to see the ecological truth of how our food is produced and what it really costs.